The Shoei GT Air 3 has obviously had some design tweaks over the 2. It's actually a brand new shell. So what are those changes and do they really make a difference? Is this a better helmet? Let's find out. But before we get into the video, just a quick word from one of my sponsors. If you're going to be at the Adventure Bike Rider Festival in June, you have the opportunity to take advantage of special discounts on a set of Dunlop Trailmax Raid, Trailmax Meridian or Mutant tyres when you pre-book a fitting at the event. Enjoy the flexibility of having a set of Trailmax Raids fitted at the festival to ride the ABR Trail, or get fresh road-focused tyres for the journey home. There is also the option for your convenience to have your old tyres couriered straight back to your doorstep. This offer is limited, so contact HMT Racing on the details on the screen, and I'll leave a link in the description too to discuss your requirements. And this service will be available from the Thursday the 27th through to lunchtime on Sunday the 30th of June. I reviewed the GT Air 2 back in 2019 and I liked it. In fact, I wore it quite a lot, but it did have a few things that I didn't like. So what's changed with the Air 3, and are those changes any good? Well, obviously, first things first, it is now ECE 2206 certified, and in general I found that helmets under the new certification are slightly heavier than their earlier counterparts, and they tend to be a little bit rounder as well in profile. At 1,736 grams on my scales at home, this is a couple of hundred grams heavier than the old GT Air 2, but to be honest, I really couldn't notice the difference, and I think you'd be hard pressed to tell that difference in weight. On the second point, the helmet does seem to be just that little bit wider, a little bit rounder from front on, but obviously this is a completely new shell. It's not the old shell with a few bits changed on the outside. So let's go through all of the changes in the first instance, and then I'll talk about what it's like when you're actually out riding in it. One big change obviously is the visor. The helmet now has the CNS1C visor, which has a central locking point as opposed to the side tab of old. It works well and it's easy to operate even with gloves on. A quick push of the button pops the visor up, and straight away there's a very small gap for airflow before you move it into the first position. This first gap is around about 5 or 6 millimeters, and obviously it's perfect for city riding when you haven't got a lot of airflow and you just want to get some more air into your visor. But it's also handy on those days where it's damp and you just want to get a bit more airflow to kind of help clear the visor without it sort of blowing in your face and being annoying. That works really well. There's then a further 5 click positions for this visor before it reaches its final stop at the top, and it comes with a Pinlock Evo insert in the box. As I say, this system works well. You soon get used to that button in the front, but I have had a few occasions where it's been difficult to close the visor into its locked position. If that front lock doesn't line up perfectly, then it can take a few attempts to actually get that shut. That may be a problem that actually eases off the more that I use the helmet. The venting has changed too. The chin vent has been streamlined, and Shoei say it reduces wind noise, and we'll check that out later on. The top vent is also now a little bit more forward on the shell and appears to be slightly wider. The Air 3 retains a micro ratchet chin strap, but it's now narrower than before, and the chin curtain that comes in the box covers a larger area. The final significant change comes in the preparation for integrated comms. The new SRL3 system from Senna is more compact than before, and subsequently the side profile of the helmet is neater and smaller. This change compared to the 2 also means that there is more room on the side to fit a third-party comms unit, so you shouldn't really have any problems with that. The drop-down visor lever has been moved lower down than before, but I can't see that that would interfere. I will hopefully be installing and testing the SRL3 system as well, so watch out for that in an upcoming video. Internally, other than the chin strap, there is no real discernible difference between the two helmets. Fit-wise, it's the usual story, a Shoei intermediate oval shape, and I've always found that Shoei helmets fit me pretty damn good. However, I did go through the Shoei PFS system to have this helmet fitted, and I'll leave a link above for you to go away and look at that video if you're interested in the process. Okay, so on to the most important bit now, which is the riding experience, and let's chat about how those changes may have affected that. This is described as a sports touring helmet, and as such it does have a relatively narrow aperture, but the vision is very good and I didn't experience any hindrance in my view. The only caveat to that is on shoulder checks where the edge of the Pinlock Evo does become visible in your eye line. The Pinlock Evo doesn't go as wide as something like the Pinlock Max Vision version, and it is visible when looking hard right or left. It's not a problem, it didn't block my vision at all, I didn't find it hindered me, but I did notice the difference on this compared to using a Max Vision Pinlock, for example. As I mentioned, operating the visor lock is simple and easy, as is the drop-down sun shield. Both offer very clear vision, and the drop-down shield has a decent level of tint. The only problem I have with the visor, as I mentioned earlier, is it doesn't always lock first time. I think it's because there's a decent amount of resistance in the mechanism, so when you press on one side, the visor flexes just enough that the pins don't quite line up exactly. So I tend to close it in two actions, one to close the visor and then a second push with thumb and forefinger to lock it shut. Not really an issue, and it may well ease off over time as the helmet gets used more, but obviously something I had to mention in this video. I always found the Air 2 to offer excellent ventilation, and it's the same story with the Air 3. If anything, I think the ventilation has improved. If I'm being honest, I don't notice that much difference in the airflow through the redesigned chin vent, but the airflow through the top vent is a different story. It really does make a huge difference. Overall, I think it offers very good levels of ventilation, and of course on very hot days the advantage of riding with the visor open and the sunshade down is obvious. Although there is a slight whistling noise when riding with the visor fully up at motorway speeds, which admittedly is something you probably wouldn't do that often. It's not enough to be annoying, but it's definitely there. The bigger chin curtain also works very well indeed, and the narrow chin strap is comfortable and easy to do up. Now, I love traditional double D-ring straps, but I am also a fan of these ratchet straps. They are much quicker and easier to do up, particularly if you don't want to take your gloves off. They're also, I think, an advantage for emergency medical teams. Now, I spoke to a paramedic recently and asked them what their protocol is when removing a helmet from a rider. Do they undo the straps? Do they try to cut the straps? And the response I got is it will vary from team to team. Generally, they will try to avoid cutting the straps unless they really have to. And they did say that they find the ratchet systems easier to undo without disturbing the patient. Okay, so on to noise, which obviously is a question that a lot of people ask about on these helmet reviews. As good as the GT Air 2 was, I did find it created some wind noise, more so than my other equivalent helmet, the Arai Quantic. It wasn't horrible, but on long days in the saddle it could get a little bit tiresome. A lot of the questions around noise will all depend on what bike you're riding, what outfit you're wearing, and how well the helmet fits you. So I always throw that caveat into these helmet reviews. But I found this helmet to be significantly quieter than the Air 2 in terms of wind noise. Obviously, I utilised the PFS fitting service, so this helmet is a perfect fit for me. But I will say that I did certainly notice a much lower level of wind noise on this helmet compared to the Air 2. In fact, this helmet with my set of Ultimate Ear squidgy moulded earplugs is possibly the quietest I've ridden in for a long time, potentially ever. A strong statement, but it works for me, and if you are looking at buying a Shoei helmet, one thing I would say is I would definitely consider that PFS fitting service if it's available at your nearest dealer. So what's my overall verdict? Well, I think the Air 3 is definitely the best iteration of that helmet so far. And if you're looking for a sports touring helmet and don't want to go down the modular route, it's definitely one to look at. Pricing wise, in standard plain white or black, it retails at £529.99, £559.99 for the yellow, matte deep grey or matte blue, and it jumps to $649.99 for any of the graphic versions. That is obviously quite a lot of money, but it is, I think, one of the most premium helmets available in this category and in the market, and the build quality and fit and finish is absolutely outstanding. I hope this video was useful. It is a little bit shorter than some of my usual videos because I didn't want to go back over the construction and all of that sort of stuff, because that is essentially the same as the Air 2. It's got the same AIM material shell, it's available in the same number of shell sizes and all that sort of stuff. So this is really for those people that are maybe due for a change and they're thinking about the Air 3, or if you're just looking for a high quality sports touring helmet. I just wanted to cover off the changes that they've made to this helmet and what the overall effect of that was. So I hope that's what you get out of this video. If you do have any questions, then drop those in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And all that leaves me to say is until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.